give you the right information of what.
In the wide, open plains of the Masai Mara, a young adventurer learns timeless skills passed down through generations. Welcome to Masai Mara, the journey of a lifetime. The game drives are truly out of this world. Just seeing a Thai cheetah with an antelope in her mouth, or majestic elephants grazing in their home. The baby animals are adorable, just like anywhere else. And spotting black rhinos, which are native to Kenya and sadly on the brink of extinction, is truly special. After landing at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, our driver picks us up and took us to our hotel in Nairobi. We had some time to rest and explore the city, and then we were ready to hit the road for the 5-hour drive to Masai Mara. The full Nairobi video will be up soon, so folks, I hope it will help you decide if it's worth spending some time there on your trip. You may wonder, why Masai Mara? When I was researching safaris, my first thought, like most people, was to see the Great Migration. The best part of it is when herds cross the Mara River. That is how I ended up choosing Kenya, especially since we were traveling in September. But little did I know that this place offers so much more. If you want the best chance of catching this, aim for the last 2 weeks in August or the first 2 weeks of September. In larger parks, you might spend more time driving between locations. Don't get me wrong, the Serengeti is also an amazing park to visit, but keep in mind your time availability, whether you're traveling with children, and your budget, as each day can be costly. Lake Naivasha and Lake Nakuru are popular stops in Kenya, and they often visited along with the Masai Mara. Since they're close to each other, many travelers hit these spots in sequence to enjoy the variety of wildlife each location offers. We also were so lucky to have cultural experiences along the way, and even got to do some cycling. It's not every day you get to ride alongside animals without worrying about carnivores keeping an eye on you. So guys, let me tell you all about it. At the entrance of the Masai Mara National Reserve at the main gates, we were warmly greeted by a local woman with a kind smile. It wasn't long before we realized she was hoping for a small donation. Once inside the park, you can't help but admire the animals roaming freely. The first guy we met was a giraffe, happily munching on acacia leaves like they were the best salad in town. Then we saw a gazelle and zebra chilling together, and we couldn't resist asking the driver to stop for a bit. But the lunch was waiting for us at the hotel, so he promised to take us back out to see the animals after we ate. We soon arrived at our first stop, Kiko Rock Lodge. The driver helped us with our bags, and after checking in, we headed to our room. On the way, we bumped into some adorable animals like dwarf mongooses hanging out right on the hotel grounds. They were so much fun to watch. After a quick lunch, we were excited to head out to our first afternoon game drive. We couldn't wait to get started. Game drives are a bit of a gamble. You might get lucky and catch some amazing sights, or it might just be a more relaxed drive through the scenery. So we were on the road when the driver got a message on the radio about the big catch. He sped up, but surprisingly my little one didn't seem to mind the speed. Before we knew it, we arrived, out of breath to see leopards that had just caught an antelope and was now trying to hide it. As you can tell, we weren't alone. It looked like all the safari vehicles had driven right to the same spot. With all the excitement, we continued on and spotted a family of warthogs running together. The driver told us they called them pumbas here, which led to a funny story. In some places, if they want to call someone silly, they say pumba, because these adorable animals sometimes forget they are running from a predator and just stop, only to get caught and eaten.
Somebody calls you a pooper.
And just around the corner we saw the king of the savannah, a lion and a lioness, relaxing on the grass. I was both surprised and a little scared at how close we could get to them. They are also true champions of relaxation, snoozing for a majestic 16 to 20 hours a day. Zebras and different kind of antelopes were grazing and keeping an eye out for predators as we headed back to our lodge, delighted with our experience. Let me give you some tips on transportation for a safari. Game drives are amazing, but bear in mind that you spend a lot of time in the car. When booking your safari, consider whether you want a private vehicle with the driver who will also serve you as a safari guide. This is especially helpful if you have health concerns or are traveling with kids, as it allows you to adjust your game drive times and take breaks as needed while moving from one point to another. Alternatively, if you are young and flexible, joining a shared group can be fun and will help you to save money. This leads me to another important consideration: accommodation. Consider opting for at least mid-range. There aren't any shops or restaurants nearby, so you will rely entirely on the meals provided by your lodge. Plus, having access to a swimming pool can be a real bonus. After spending so much time in the car, it's nice to have larger hotel grounds and a pool where you can stretch your legs and relax before your next adventure. It was time to take a shower and go for a dinner. As we left our lodge, the security guard ran straight towards us, and without saying much, we understood why we should ring the bell before leaving the lodge. The hippos were grazing close by. They're territorial animals and can be very aggressive if someone enters their territory. They stay in the water during the day because their skin is quite thin and sensitive, so the water helps protect it. However, at night they come out and graze. The man brought us further down to the hotel grounds with a torch, and I couldn't believe my eyes when I saw elephants passing by. And this little guy was so adorable. Early in the morning, we set off on our next adventure, where we spotted a vulture soaring high in the sky. Curious, we quickly changed our route and we weren't disappointed. They're just off the road. A lioness was feasting on her prey with vultures waiting nearby for their turn. The lioness, full and satisfied, finally walked away to rest, giving the vultures a chance to swoop in and enjoy the leftovers. Among them, a marabou stork stood patiently waiting for his moment to join the feast. It was time to drive out of the Masai Mara National Reserve to visit nearby Masai village not far from the gates. The Masai people welcomed us warmly. They wore bright red clothes called cheetahs, which stood out beautifully against the landscape. We watched them perform their traditional dances, where the men jumped high into the air, a part of their famous adumu or jumping dance. Their songs, jewelry, and way of life gave us a glimpse into how deeply they value their traditions.
Now we are on our way to Aseki camp, which is just outside the Masai Mara. This time the Masai people were more relaxed and didn't greet us with a dance. Instead, they took us straight to our tent. Yes guys, this is where we are spending the night. The place where our little one had the best time, I think. It was so nice to see that children all over the world are the same. They just want to play. Now, I just want to answer and help with some of the questions I think most of us have when going on safari. First of all, how many days should you spend? Don't underestimate the distance. The Masai Mara is a relatively small park, so it's easier for the drivers to get close to the animals. In many cases, we were really close during our trip. We spent a week on safari and I'm glad we visited different national parks and included cultural experiences. Here is how it went. We took an international flight to Nairobi, stayed overnight and made sure to be realistic about jet lag. Do you really want to land after a long flight and drive another 5 hours to the Masai Mara? Yes guys, you will need to drive or take a domestic flight to Masai Mara National Reserve from Nairobi. The flight is great but adds to the budget. We wanted to relax and get ready for our first game drive, so we decided to spend a night in Nairobi. Then we had a full 3 days in the Masai Mara National Reserve and moved on to some cultural activities nearby. This was fantastic choice because while game drives are amazing, after 3 days you do start to feel like it's enough, especially since you spend so much time in the car and you can't get out because it's not safe. Next, let's talk about budget. You can spend anywhere from 120 euro to 2000 euro a day, depending on the accommodation you choose and whether you are on a private safari or in a group. Either way, you'll see the animals, but the experience will differ based on what you choose. We went for mid-range accommodation and private safari because we were traveling with the child. I am glad we did, as our child would sometimes get tired and it was nice to head back to the lodge early when needed. Remember, there is also a park fee and it adds up whether you stay inside or outside the park. After a day and a half of cultural activities, we headed to Nakuru Lake National Reserve, where we saw a different range of animals. I was so happy we chose it because this is where you'll find black rhinos, which are on the brink of extinction, and you can also do some bird watching on the lake. It was honestly a highlight of my trip. Then we moved on to Naivasha National Reserve, where we did a cycling safari and got up close to the animals. We believe a healthy lifestyle moves people forward. If you feel the same and need help choosing the right bike, let us know, and we'll deliver the best quality bike to your door. Stay healthy. And this hotel completed a wonderful holiday. Waking up and seeing animals grazing right outside our door was magical. The only regret I have is that I didn't add an extra day in the Nakuru and Naivasha lake reserves. I fell in love with these spots. So we were really happy with our experience combining game drives, various national parks and cultural activities. It was all possible within a short time because the distances between these parks form a sort of triangle, making it easier to travel. In my next video, I'll tell you all about Nairobi, where we spent 2 days, the day we landed and the day before we headed home, as our flight was late in the evening. I'll also make a detailed video about Nakuru and Lake Naivasha Natural Reserve, so you can decide if these are spots you want to add to your itinerary. In the meantime, if you want to experience a similar holiday, I am about to finish my website where you can find the link to the driver who took care of us from start to finish. Honestly, our experience wouldn't have been the same without him. So guys, the world is beautiful, and whether you are on a budget, mid-range or lucky enough to experience luxury, make it happen. Safe travels and see you soon, my friends.